Well, howdy, and welcome to this video. I was thinking, that politically and culturally and socially, that everything's way too silly, upbeat, and fun. So I wanted to, bring up a subject matter that's more grounded, more serious. We're gonna have a discussion about phallic foods today. I have put together a list of foods that I have seen used in a phallic connotation because, you can kind of make the argument that any food that's even slightly tubular is. But I wanted to use stuff that I think we all really vibe with and understand and connect with, or represent the balls, because everyone forgets about the balls. I'm going to split this discussion into two parts. The first part, we're going to be talking about the food itself and if I like the food and how I feel about the food. And then I'm going to talk about how good the food represents the ween. Are you on the same page? I think we should start strong. Our first candidate is the banana. The banana is a cool fruit, in my opinion. I'm very fascinated by the banana. I like the design of the banana. They're very varied. There's plantain. There's hundreds of bananas. There's a website that I've been on before that's a forum. I think it's bananas.net or bananas.org. And they talk about bananas. I don't actually think I've had a banana before, which is it's one of those things because people act like it's weird. I haven't had a lot of foods. I've never had coffee or like anything that's healthy. I probably haven't. But there's just something about the banana. I know I don't like it. I don't like banana flavored candy, but I do like banana bread. As far as its representation of the phallic symbol, that was kind of redundant. As far as it represents the penis, I think that, it's a classic for a reason. To bring up some examples, there's banana hammock, which is a pretty good term, by the way. It's for a Speedo if you somehow don't know that. It's also one of those America First things because the Australian, they use the term budgie smuggler, which is funny, but it doesn't roll off the tongue. It doesn't have the same lilt, the same textural quality that banana hammock has, in my opinion. There's also, of course, is that a banana in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me? I don't really see why it couldn't be both. I don't think the banana's a bad choice. I think it makes sense that we talk about the banana this way, that we use the banana this way. It's yellow, so it's kind of, I guess there's a lot of different colors of bananas, but typically you'd think of the bananas yellow, which is sort of Simpsons-ish, sort of skin tone adjacent. The curve is a nice touch. I think especially if you're looking at the banana, the flesh outside of the peel, there's definitely some similarities between the two. There's also a lot of size variation, so I give it a thumbs up. This isn't like a ranking or anything, I'm just talking. Next up, I'm talking about the pickle. I know that the pickle is controversial. She has her fans, she has her detractors, and honey, I am one of them. I hate pickles. Can't stand them. And I can't eat a burger that's had them on and taken off. I can't stand the smell. I can't be in the room with it. I think that if you like pickles, you should be arrested. As far as the phallic representation, I guess it's okay. Similar kind of size variation and shape as the banana without the curve. But, it's green, and I don't know a lot of dudes where it's green. I guess there's a lot of dudes where it smells like vinegar, so there's... Next up, I put the Twinkie. Hostess cake, the Twinkie. I like Twinkies. I also like Chocodiles, which is just a Twinkie that's coated in chocolate. But that feels like one of those things where it'd be better if you got it at a fair or something. Sort of like a deep fried Oreos, which I tried recently and they're great. It wasn't even recently, it was like 6 months ago. Time doesn't work for me anymore. I think that, the comparison makes sense. in shape. The white cream in the center makes sense. Gosh, I'm gonna blush throughout like this whole video. Of course, I think the length is a little off, but you know, there's a lot of diversity in the world anyway. I think it's kind of a delightful choice of comparison. I put cannoli next. I've never had a cannoli, but they seem okay. It seems very like frosting heavy, and I don't like desserts that are that light, I suppose. Like, I'm not a huge mousse fan. I like a nice dense cake. Hence the Twinkie. But I would try a cannoli, but I can't give my opinion. As far as it represents the wiener, the only real example that I can think of is there's like a line on Golden Girls about it.
I'm back! So, did you and Artie play Find the Cannoli?
Doesn't really look like one. I guess you have the same like cream-filled thing that you have with Twinkies, but she's not competing. She's not making it. Actually, I kind of looked at pictures and there's like a bit of girth. There's also kind of like a hood shape. Can I get an applause for some uncut wrap? Next up, I have interesting entry, the eggplant. I don't believe I've ever had an eggplant either. The thing with foods like this, because people will be like, well, how do you know you don't like it if you haven't tried it? And it's kind of like, well, you know, I don't think I'd like to eat poop. I never tried that, but I think I can tell. And the thing with eggplants is they're really like, I can't imagine I'd like the texture. And I'm a really big texture guy. And they're like really watery. And I feel like there's always a better option. If you want like an eggplant parm, I think like a chicken parm would be a better choice. As far as its phallic connotations, it's most commonly used with the emoji, which is used in blue situations. I read a whole article about the eggplant emoji and I found it very scintillating. It was talking about how the purple color of it has this sort of race neutralness to it, which allows it to be used by a whole like sort of guy in a way that maybe the banana wouldn't as much. It also has sort of like a swollen kind of thing to it, which, you know, you might understand. As such, I think it's actually a pretty good representative. It's of course quite a big vegetable, which I imagine is part of why that's the default emoji. You don't see people sending like the carrot emoji or whatever as much. I'm partial to the Pinocchio one though, when you know, in this situation. Next up, I'm talking about the popsicle. Love a popsicle. I've enjoyed one or two in my day. I like the push-up ones. When I was a kid, I loved the push-up ones, and there were these ones, I don't know what they're called, but they came like in pairs, and they had like orange was my favorite, I think, but they had all like soda flavors. This one's usually more of a visual metaphor instead of a verbal one, like most of the others on the list. You see a lot of like posters of like girls like licking one, so you can kind of guess why people like that. I don't think it's bad of the like melting, like the liquid coming down. I think it works pretty well in that sort of playful way. Also love a good rocket pop, and I feel like the rocket pop's the one you see the most in this case, which is interesting. Kind of this like Americana thing, which yeah, I guess that makes sense. It feels conservative coded. The next one I put is a Snickers bar. Will you believe me if I say that I don't think I've had a Snickers bar either? I think I'm just really engaged and really evocative with my opinion on these foods. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. The Snicker bar just doesn't, I think it's caramel filled and I don't like caramel. Again, it's kind of a texture thing, it's really thick. In general, I don't have a lot of chocolate bar experience because I'm more of a plain dude, so I like a Hershey's. Love a good symphony bar. I like cookies and cream flavoring and stuff, but nuts and stuff I'm not a huge fan of. Well, I like nuts, but I don't like nuts in chocolate bars. We'll talk about nuts later when we get to the balls section, by the way. The reason I put this on the list is there's like an online... This is so embarrassing to talk about, oh my gosh. There's this meme online that the like creases on the bar sort of looks like the vein on and yeah, it does kind of. I'd also say like the kind of, well, it's more like rectangular, the size feels like pretty close to like a fairly average one in length and in width. So I guess it's a pretty good one if you can ignore the square shape. I feel this next one's going to be controversial, and we'll discuss the controversy in a sec. I'll discuss your opinions in a second, but our next one is chicken. I love chicken. There was a period of time where I actually didn't eat red meat or like pork or anything at all, so I was mostly poultry and fish. I have a huge appetite for chicken and turkey, but turkey isn't really relevant to the discussion at hand. I love fried chicken, chicken wings, chicken breast, which people are like really weird about the chicken breast. I think with certain meats, it's like if you don't like it, it's because you don't know how to cook it. I feel the same way about turkey, because I'll hear a lot of people be like, I don't like it because it's dry and it tastes like tissues. And it's like, maybe that's because you didn't season it and you cooked it too long. And if you cooked it good, it might taste good. So there's probably like two things you're thinking here about the chicken. One is Jarek, the chicken is a animal and not a food. But the thing is, like, a chicken is a food. Like, you cook and you eat it. To maybe give a comparison, like, you don't really eat the banana peel, but I think it still counts. The other thing you might think is the comparison's probably more of the fact that it's like a male version of the animal and not like an image comparison. I disagree about that though. You know, you've got the rooster parts right here. That kind of looks like it. I think they look kind of similar. Obviously there's the word for chicken that isn't rooster, or the phrase choke the chicken. They kind of look similar actually. Like I said with the wattle and whatnot, the long neck, the pecker and all that. So last, for the penis section, I would like to talk about the sausage. Hot dog, kielbasa, chorizo, Italian sausage, bratwurst. There's really no end to the possibilities. I quite like sausage. That's something that my dad very much instilled in me when I was a youngin'. Especially love a good brat or Italian. I like a good Italian. I almost always eat my hot dogs completely raw. Well, not raw, it's cooked, but I don't put condiments on it. Sometimes cheese if I'm feeling a little frisky. Nothing too extreme though. I've gotten in fights over it, in fact. As far as representation, I think this is probably about as perfect as you can get. The color is pretty much in the same vein. The size, it sort of depends, but I've definitely had like an Italian sausage. Not to like tell on myself too much, but I've definitely had an Italian sausage that's like the same exact size before. It's just such a wonderful thing, and I'm so glad that we live in a world with sausages. I've researched them a little bit because they're like one of the few foods that's consistently present in basically like all non-nomadic cultures. Also, like the idea that they're funny and that they look like wieners has been around since they've existed, basically. Do you remember that? This is gonna date myself, but there's like that one song and it was like, I've got a fly, but I still get sausage. Sausage. Do you remember that one? That's a weird one, actually. Now to move on to the next section, the balls. I want to start with the avocado. I've never had an avocado straight up like avocado toast, but I've had guacamole, healthy fat. I love fats. I think we should encourage fats more in cooking. Have very strong opinion on fats. Although I feel neutral about guacamole. I suppose. The reason I brought this one up was there's this myth, and I feel like I heard about this in school. The word avocado is a native word of the Nahua, which is, it supposedly means testicle. And I was researching it, and I guess that's not completely true. It's that that word, it referred to avocados, but they used it often as a slang term, and I guess as frequently as like the word nuts in English. That still qualifies it for this list, and I think it's pretty darn close to looking like how they look, when they're kind of more condensed, when they're closer to the body. It definitely looks similar. We have the green issue again, but I feel like the forest green color of the skin is still like fairly neutral looking, so I give it a thumbs up too. Next we have eggs, huevos. I love eggs. I love eggs sunny side up, over easy. Love them on toast, scrambled with cheese. I've never had like a quiche or anything, but the egg is one of the best protein sources, and I'm a huge breakfast guy. The thing here I guess we're gonna have to consider is that some of these foods are gonna represent like the whole, like the sack and everything, and some of these are only gonna represent like the testes, and this is a case of the latter. And in that sense, it's kind of hard to not represent because they're just oval shaped, but the eggs do look pretty similar, I would say, so they've got that going for them. Next I put meatballs. Can't think of the last time I had meatballs. I liked them just fine as a child. As a little boy, I liked spaghetti and meatballs just okay. I'm not a huge fan of when there's a lot of tomato sauce. I'm just a picky eater, so a food-based video was kind of a weird choice. But I am a penis expert, so it kind of evens out in the wash. They don't really look too similar though, I'd say. It's just kind of in the name, isn't it? You'd think it'd be closer, but it's kind of too different. So first thumbs down of the video. Next up, beans. This is a hard one to really pin down because there's like 1,000,001 different kinds of beans. There's garbanzo, or there's kidney, which I suppose looks more like a kidney if we're doing organ comparison. But I haven't had a lot of beans. They're also a good source of protein. I should expand my horizons a bit. I have had edamame though. It's okay, it's kind of like nuts. But if I wanted that, I'd probably just eat nuts. I guess a lot of them look really similar though. They're sort of fleshy, especially any that have been soaked, I think, look quite similar to the balls. I've definitely heard guys use this, like, there was this one time I went to a pool party. It's a really weird pool party in a woman's backyard, and the pool was one of the ones that's like on top of the ground, so you have to like climb in, and everyone was warning that the surface, like the ledge, was really hot from the sun, so they're like, be careful when you get in. So I got in, I was kind of wearing like the kind of like a Speedo, and when I slid in, the guy in the pool near me, he like winced and he went, "I thought you were gonna burn your beanbag, bro." The next entry on our list is grapes. I've definitely heard guys refer to their own with this one. I love grape product, except wine. Actually, I'm trying to learn to like wine more. I'm also trying to learn to like beer more, and I'm sort of succeeding. I like American pale ales, okay? I don't like the more mainstream beers, and I'm learning as long as I'm hanging out more with like my rich friends that I actually kind of like wine when it's not like bottom like barefoot or something like that, unless it's sparkling. I'm quite a big fan of sparkling myself, and I guess I don't really have anything different to say about grapes than what I said about eggs, except I guess the color is a bit off, but yeah, they actually look pretty similar, I'd assume. I've never really seen one like out of the bag, if you know what I mean. Next I put the fig. I've never had a fig. I don't really even know what it is. But I remember I was reading this article. I was looking up how big, this is kind of embarrassing to admit. I was looking up how big ball sacks like usually are, because you can't like measure it the same. And usually they'll tell you like the volume, and I'm not gonna like displace water to check. I saw one picture online, it said that it's like the size of a grocery store fig, but I was like, I don't know how big that is, so it wasn't much help. Yeah, they have the more of the kind of like the teardrop shape, which I guess adds more realness. The very last is nuts. There's of course also a lot of types of nuts, and I like nuts. I like cashews probably the most. I like almonds just fine. I like the honey walnut shrimp at Panda Express. I didn't use shrimp. It's too late anyway. The shrimp don't look that much like, well, I guess it sort of depends. Anyway, I think that the peanut or maybe the walnut looks the most like it. The peanut probably because it's like in 2 parts. You know what I mean? I also think like word-wise that nuts is like my preferred. It does sound a little rednecky, but you know. Also, I feel like it's easier to take serious. I was reading this article about like depression or something. I remember it had a part in it. It was like a very serious article, and it was like we know we're men. We feel it in our bodies. We feel it in our hearts. We feel it in our balls. And I was like, I understood, but it's like hard not to laugh when someone calls it that. It's just so ridiculous. Yeah, I guess that's the end of the video. I hope that this video is thought-provoking and that you really took something home from it, and feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the comments section. I'll see you later.